the biggest migration of our time remains yet to come. The International Organization of Migration estimates that climate change will lead to the potential displacement of over 1.5 billion people by 2050.
Climate change is going to have a large impact on water availability and sea levels. These two impacts are probably going to be the ones that have the most important consequences on migration patterns.
And this will happen as certain parts of the world will become less viable places to live, experiencing even worse food and water supply shortages, and an increased frequency of floods, storms, and droughts, something that we see happening right now.
Places in the world that are already water stressed, that have already a problem with water availability, are going to be even more stressed for water in the future, unfortunately. Particularly if you look at a country like Egypt, for example, which is already one of the most severely water-constrained countries in the world, is going to have even less water resources available in the future, and that will probably lead to migration out of Egypt. You have countries like the poster child for that is Bangladesh. So most of the Bangladesh Delta is actually below 2 meters above sea levels. So if you have an increase of 2 meters in this country, then most of the Bangladeshi population will have to move out of the country and move either to India or to China or further away. And that's close to 200 million people.
And when there's changes in the environment, there's always changes in the economy. Insurance companies and governments, for example, won't be able to cope with the reparation costs of people's homes and infrastructure. Small and medium-sized economies based on agriculture and rainfall will likely collapse. Rising sea levels and hurricanes will continue to hurt the stability of island nations and coastal cities, making them more expensive and more hard to maintain, as our growing wildfires will continue to reduce the nature's ability to recover. And all of these environmental and economical changes combined will result in an unprecedented number of people migrating from one place to the other, looking for the right conditions to live. And people will not only move because of the weather, but because climate will have a direct impact in our politics. A simple shortage in food or oil or water will set the right circumstances for social upheaval, something that is already happening and has happened before.
The Arab Spring, the so-called Arab Spring, also coincided with a peak in food prices. Because back then in 2011, when we had a stretch of weather-damaged crops in some of the world's bread baskets, and that sent the price of cereals like wheat, corn, rice much higher than they were in the years before. It's not a coincidence that you had this conjunction of high food prices, very severe, like century-defining drought, and the Arab Spring. I mean, this trifecta was linked.
We have already almost half a century of greenhouse gas emissions in the pipeline, which essentially means that regardless of whether all nations on Earth somehow manage to stop emitting gases right this second, all of this extreme weather and geopolitical events combined are still bound to happen. It's not only about trying to mitigate climate change anymore. The challenge will be to adapt to it.